Welcome to episode number 32 of the Better with Brock podcast. I'm here with the main man, Marley. What's going on, mate?
What's up, brother? I'm good, bro. How are you?
Good. So we were in a New Zealand famous band called Moorhouse.
I don't know if a famous is a good word for that band, bro.
I think our single charted at number 8. I remember that.
Did it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mama said.
That's good.
Mm.
I'm pretty proud of that song. People still play that song, bro. I'm proud.
Actually, my friend's wife loves that song.
Really?
Yeah, reminds her of Christmas, and her kids like it.
Yeah, that's good. We made it.
Yeah. We've got 3 people that listen to that song.
Royalties.
So what's been happening since Moorhouse? So obviously I moved over here,
Yeah.
set up in Australia. You stayed in Christchurch.
Mm.
You moved around since then.
Mm.
What have you been doing?
What have I been doing, bro? Well, did I move to Sydney before you, or did you move to Sydney? Because I remember I was here for a year.
I think you were there before me.
Yeah. I think I just
Because you had the studio that I came at. I came to.
Yeah. In Parramatta.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Since the boy band, bro, I've just been doing music, bro. Like, it's just living life, like family. Just trying to do whatever I can in the music industry. You know what it's like, bro. Writing, recording. I sort of locked myself away for a few years to learn how to produce and mix and master and all that kind of stuff. All the good stuff and all the hard stuff you have to do.
So hard.
And yeah, just been, I don't really gig that much anymore, bro, to be honest. So I've just been doing more producing, to be honest, and started my own business 2 years ago called Mellow Studios in Christchurch. So we have about 100 or over 100 kids come through on a weekly basis, and about 8 tutors that we employ. And that's me and my wife that run that. So yeah, that's me pretty much, bro.
And how do you find teaching people how to sing? Because I taught guitar for a little while.
Yeah.
And I was just frustrated the whole time because they never did their homework. And like they would come to class and we'd just be going over the same things because they never did their homework.
Yeah,
and maybe
yeah.
I wasn't the best teacher.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this is so hard. Like, I don't think I'm made for teaching kids because it's like you have to be so patient. And I'm not saying you only teach kids because obviously you teach adults and everywhere in between too. But how do you find it?
I really love it, bro. I feel like teaching vocals is more than just teaching vocals, you know, as is anything. Like when you're doing your personal training, it's far more than just lifting the weights and all that kind of stuff. It's like the relationship, it's life. And I feel like through vocal tutoring for me, it's an opportunity to, I guess, help someone with their vocals, like their technique, but more so like learning more about themselves, bro. Like maybe parts they didn't know that they had, or and I guess like levels that they didn't know that they could get to, which was always inside of them, but it's just, I guess, our job as teachers or trainers is to actually help them be confident in themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, bro. What's it like for you, like when you're training?
I think training people, I think it's very much, so it depends on the capacity. So I started as a face-to-face personal trainer. So that's very different to online personal training because you're physically there with them.
Yeah.
But I'd have to agree with the fact that it's not just the physical or the physical thing that you're doing. So it's not just vocal singing for you. It's not just working out for me. It's not just, let's put on some muscle, let's do some exercises and let's, eat this and eat that and then we're all good. And then you've just changed physically, but that's it. It's like you change people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I have an example of this lady that I trained when I was a pretty fresh personal trainer. I first moved to Sydney and I was in Fitness First. And I got this lady who wanted to train 3 times a week. And she weighed about 112 kilos. So she had quite a lot of weight to lose. And that was her goal, fat loss. Yeah. So we started training, but she couldn't do quite a lot of exercises because her body just wasn't accustomed to exercise. She'd had a gym membership for years, but never stepped in the door.
Yeah, right.
So she just had this direct debit coming out reminding her that she needed to go.
Oh, that reminds me of myself.
So she finally was like, I'm going to get a personal trainer to help me do it. So it was me. So when you're a new personal trainer in the gym, some gyms will give the new personal trainer the leads
Yeah.
to help encourage you to get clients and get better, because the people that have been there for longer should have a client base because they've been there for longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I took her on and I learned a lot straight up, because she couldn't do, like, say, a squat, because she weighed too much for her legs to handle. So we had to make exceptions. So she'd have to squat to a certain box that would stop her range of motion.
Right.
So she'd go, down 20 centimeters and go back up, and that was her
Yeah.
squat for now. And then it would be 30 a month later, and maybe 40 centimeters a month after that. So I'm saying this because it's not just, we lost a lot of weight. Like, we ended up losing 45 kilos, which is, man.
That's crazy, bro.
Man, yeah. And we took a photo with the 45 kg dumbbell to, like, symbolize how much she'd lost. And she was a different person. She had accelerated her career as well. She had, more confidence around what she wore. She had a different level of confidence. Like, and not that posting on Instagram makes you confident, because, this was a few years ago, but she started posting, like, what she was doing and stuff. And she was waking up early, going to see sunrises with her kids, and she wasn't doing this stuff beforehand. So it was, way more than just a physical transformation. So I can understand how, like, singing and breaking barriers within how they express themselves can change not just their singing ability, but their whole life.
Their whole life, bro. The way they see themselves, it's like, you open up a different perspective for them. It's almost like giving them what you can see. Do you know what I mean?
So how did you develop your singing? Because, like, when we met, like, your voice was crazy, and it's always been crazy.
Yeah.
And I personally, even though I was, like, a singer, and I was saying to you before in the car, I don't feel like a singer. Like, I was never naturally a singer, where I was just like, I grew up singing and it comes naturally. Like, I always felt like I had to work like 5 times as hard just to get something, which I still wouldn't 100% get. And then some people just be like, okay, what are we doing? Bang. And just nailing it. Like, I felt like that at Moorhouse. Like, it was like so hard to nail things. I was always super pitchy.
Yeah.
And you guys were just like jumping in the flow of everything. How did you develop that? Because sorry, I just asked you a question, but I'm cutting in.
Hey,
let
get
me
your
speak.
own man.
Like, I felt like it's something that you have and don't have, but then it can also be taught at the same time. So there's this nature versus nurture
it's a
situation.
I feel like it is a hard thing, because as much as you say that maybe like I'm natural, whatever, I guess as a kid, like, since I was like 12 or something, I'd been like really intentional with like what I was listening to, because I don't really listen to heaps of music. I don't like have a massive like what do you call it, like playlists or whatever. Like, I have the same albums that I've been listening to since I was like 5 years old,
And what are those albums?
Like, what's it? Always and For Real by like Eddie's, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Yes.
Like that, all that kind of stuff, bro. And it's very like, I guess you have to pay close attention to like whatever you're trying to achieve. You have to pay like close attention to people that have already done it. So I used to just sit in my bedroom like and sing, and you could ask my mum, like she would be like, this guy would never stop singing. In the shower, wherever I was, I'd be singing, So yes, I don't know, like, cause I get that question like quite a lot. It's like, how did you just start? I'm like, man, I actually worked really hard to actually, and even still to this day, like I'm very like, as chill as I am, like I really love like the intricacies of like music, and like maybe not the theory side, but just like the feeling side, and like how they're hitting a certain note or whatever. So yeah. And then when people ask me that question, I'm like, nah, you can work hard to get it. Like anyone can do it. It just depends on, maybe people are at a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get that question, is like, I don't know if you've heard that question before, but like, can you teach someone that's like tone deaf to sing, or can you teach anyone to sing? I'm like, I feel like yes, that's definitely achievable. For them to sing like me, or
You're dreaming.
Oh, there's no way. No, no.
You'll never be me.
But it's true because no one could be me and
Yeah.
I could not be them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just trying to get you to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
It's not about, so.
Yeah, that's the challenging thing about fitness too. That
Yeah.
ties exactly in. Like people be like, I wanna look like you.
Yeah. But there's
And
no
I'm
way.
like, you can't. And that's not in an arrogant way. Like, oh, I'm just like massive and I'm way bigger than you and whatever. It's just like I have different genetics.
Yeah.
I have different time to commit to training. I have different foods that I enjoy. I have different habits. Like one thing that I had and that I have always had like since growing up and even until now, I move a lot.
Yeah, right.
Like and not just saying like training and walking and stuff. When I talk, I move my hands a lot. And I've had that since a kid. And ever since I was a kid, I've always struggled to gain weight.
Yeah, right.
So I've always had this kind of lean tendency of always looking lean.
Yeah.
And some people have the opposite. Like they tend to sit down more.
Yeah.
And when they talk, they just have their hands in their pockets. Where I'm like standing around and like pointing and doing this stuff. And that adds up over time.
Yeah.
So a person that just sits down, and this isn't saying that that's bad, but a person that has that tendency is never going to like have the amount of calories that they can consume like I can, just because they move less.
Yeah.
And like, but no one wants to hear it because then it's like, I just want to look like you. And people say to you, oh, I want to sing like you. Just help me sing like you. It's like, well, let's just help you be the best you.
Yeah.
Because that's all it can, that's all that can happen.
Yeah. That's exactly right, bro. And it's like what your like analogy is like the person sitting down, like, and they're like, I want to be that. I want to be you, like standing up and doing all this stuff. But then it's like, well, I guess like you're not going to look exactly like me, but if you want to start, you're going to have to get up and start moving around.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like these small steps that like people have to do. And it's like, it's up to them if they want to do that. But even if they did everything that I did, they would still look different. Like if we want to get down to it, like each person's muscles insert differently on their body. So like some person might have a chest that like is really full and looks huge, and then some guy might train just as much chest, but it'll just look different. Like some people's chests are shaped like they kind of go in the middle, or like, and like even though they train hard and they have this body, like it's just different. Some people's, like some people have huge calves and they've never trained calves in their life. And you're like, how do you have those huge calves? Like I've been training them every day for like years, and it's just like, it's just genetics. So like there's these things that we can try and do, but it's like ultimately we can just be our best you.
Yeah, that's it, bro. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like I get that a lot. And it's hard because people will train with me because they admire, let's just say, my physique. And then we'll be training together and they'll be getting frustrated because they're trying to look like me. And when I was a face-to-face personal trainer, I'll be like, but like I'm on my feet all day. I'm training twice a day because I work in a gym. So if I have a lunch break, I'm going to eat and train because it's so easy. I just need to step outside my door and I'm at a gym. But for you, this theoretical person that I'm talking about, they might have 45 minutes to train at lunchtime. So they go in and they train, then they go home. They have 2 kids. They're, making dinner. They're trying to help them with their homework. And then they don't have time to have their own dinner. So they just get like takeaways or something really easy. And they have no time. Then they got to spend time with their wife or their husband. And then like time is just like so short. And then I'm this single young personal trainer just doing what he wants, staying up late, training twice a day, no stress because I don't have kids at the moment. And it's like, you won't have what I have just because of that.
Yeah.
Like 100%. The time, the stress, the like the freedom to just do what you want.
Yeah. But I guess at the same time, it's adaptable, eh? Like now that you are a father, like you adapt like how your life is to still maintain what you,
Yeah, but you have to be so much more intentional with your time. Yeah. I felt like that's the biggest thing I've learned as a father is like being intentional with your time.
Yeah.
Like the time that you have, when you don't have kids, it's like, like you just like wake up, you're like, let's watch a movie, let's do this and that. I might sleep until 9. I might go to sleep at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's like,
no
as
way.
a father, it's like, okay, and maybe it's just how I am. Like maybe people operate differently, but I'm like, okay, I'm up at this time.
Yeah.
I'll have an hour, maybe 2 hours before she wakes up and I'll do this and that.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to be a bit more calculated.
Yeah, true. I guess I don't really understand because I'm not a father yet. But I guess why I was saying adaptable because it's like, everyone's got a different schedule. So it's like learning how to, I guess when I'm teaching someone, That was like, how do I practice? You know, I've probably got a busy schedule, or I was busy this week and da. But then it's like, if you put your practice into everyday life, like they're like, I sing in the car. Like, sweet, that's practice, but be intentional about it. Like, be intentional in the car while you're singing. You know what I mean? And really think about what we've been working on in the car. If that's where you do it, then do it there. Wherever you can get time to do it, then just go hard.
So what do you think the biggest obstacle is for people to like become good singers?
Confidence. Yeah.
But how can you be confident if you feel like you suck at singing?
Well, you know, like maybe even myself, I'm still like critical, and you are your biggest critic. Like, we all know that. So I think confidence is like, you know, because if you think you're a shit singer, it's because you're unconfident. So it's just, you know what I mean? Like, you really have to almost train your mind. You know, it's like the renewal of your mind, bro. Yeah. And you constantly have to do that, because if I kept on telling myself I was a crap singer because of one performance, I could just stop singing.
And that's all you'd ever amount to be.
Yeah, and that's it. Or I could keep working on it and be like, sort of be positive that there's still more, or there's still, you know, because that's what I'm thinking as a singer. I've been singing for a long time now, like just as long as you, and we've been singing for ages, bro. I don't know if you sing anymore.
Nah, I only sing to my wife at the wedding.
Well, there,
and that's it. And in the shower.
But that's it. But like, you know, I still have more.
Yeah.
Like, I still have more to grow.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the day that I say like I'm like stopped and I've capped, that's when I stop, and I just won't sing. Like, or I won't try to, you know, pursue it as a career or whatever.
So how do you develop confidence if you feel like you're unconfident? Like, what's the difference between going from I'm an unconfident singer, so let's say I walk into Mellow Studios and I want to get better at singing, but I'm unconfident. How do I go from being unconfident to confident?
I guess it's heaps of things that add up, like what you said, bro. It's so many things like in your everyday life that add up to this one thing you're trying to do, right? It's never just the thing. It's always the freaking like
everything else.
Yeah, everything else that's behind it. So I guess you gotta be intentional again, and focus everything in the right direction, and it all has to align. So then when you do come into the studio, you're like happy with what's going on in the background. You got positive people speaking into your life. You've got positive people saying, coming to your gigs. You've got actual real relationships who are supporting you in your music career, to then feel confident in yourself. But it doesn't just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah, you can't just flick a switch and then, oh, sweet, I love myself.
Yeah, I think I'm so good now. Yeah, I think that the environment's a big one.
Yeah.
And I also think one thing that I've learned over time with many things in my life, it's been like going from unconfident to confident is practice.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about with intent, like being intentional, because that's practice.
Yeah.
Like even, like let's say a huge thing of what I do now is like talk to camera. Like whether it's social media or whether it's like this podcast we're talking, or whether it's like videos that I'm recording for my app, for my clients and stuff, I have to talk a lot. And the only way to get better at that is to do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like I remember when I first started, and I can still get better, 100%. I'm still trying to get better, but my early stuff was just like horrendous to watch. Like you're just like, what the hell are you saying? A lot of ums, a lot of ahs, a lot of eyes darting around, a lot of retakes that people don't see, because you're like, I'm not using that, or I'm going to edit that, take that awkward silence out and all this stuff. But it's just practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Wow. See, look, I need to practice talking. But yeah.
Is this your podcast? No.
But I feel like that fills the gap.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing about going from being unconfident at anything, whether it's singing or how you feel with your body, or whether it's writing or speaking, whatever it is. I feel like it's practice, but that's the hardest thing to do. Like do the reps.
Yeah.
Like just practice singing. Just do your homework. And that's why I'd get frustrated with my guitar clients, because they weren't practicing. They would just be the same.
Yeah. Hard. Yeah.
No practice. But that environment thing as well is huge.
100%. Because if you just say, maybe I could just put it in the music thing, but if I had a vocal student and then all I was saying to that vocal student is like, you're shit. Like that, you're not getting any better. Like this is just not working. Where do you think that person's going to end up?
At a different place. At a different singing tutor.
That could be the,
Yeah, or just giving
stop.
up.
Yeah, or give up.
Yeah.
And I guess as humans, like we have to find that positive community that are uplifting each other, and and that's cultural, bro, too. Like being around our cultures that we grow up in is like family and community is a big thing, and it's never just the one person doing the thing, because we stand on like the shoulders of like giants. So finding that that background and those people, or that place, or that person who's going to uplift you and help you out.
Yeah, I think that's what got me even into singing.
Yeah.
Like I never thought I was I never thought that I would do that for a living for that time of my life. How we were like in Moorhouse and we were like, oh, we're signed to Sony. Like, sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Like I was like, whoa. But like I don't think I ever would have did that if I had people around me, like yourself and like the boys and the tutors and the singing tutors that we had around us and at church when we were singing. If I didn't have that around me, I just would have been like, I just wrote a song because I lost my mum and I was sad and it helped me express, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I would never have gone like, okay, I'm going to go all in and try and write songs and try and try and like make it a thing. But I had that environment that was like, you can do it. You can do it.
Hard.
And I was like, but I'm not that great. Like, but then there's people around you saying, but you can do it. Like just work harder and like all this kind of stuff. And it actually made, like, not saying that I was ever good, but like, it helped turn it into something.
Yeah. Nah, I reckon you're like an amazing singer, bro. And songwriter and everything. Like, I feel like if anything, you had everything going for you to, or like you had the right work ethic, you had the right,
It's just such a struggle, man.
But it's just like, one of my friends, Vince Harder, he's always says it's just happy accidents. Like when you make it, it's never, you know what I mean? You can work as hard as you want, but if the stars don't align and all that kind of stuff, then just be grateful that you're singing.
Yeah, but like that's where I struggled with it. And that's where I actually went from, okay, I'm going to be a singer. And then when we broke up as the band, I was like, well, I want to do something else, because I struggled with that. Okay, like I was like, I'm working my ass off, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But then, there's that element of luck. There's that element of who you know. And there's like this, like Vince had that big song with P Money.
Yeah.
And like, obviously he's a hard worker and he did all that stuff, but like that song just went huge.
Yeah.
And massive. That's the kind of like aligning of the stars thing. Because like, that song just went huge for him. Like that put him on the map. But he was singing way before that.
Yeah.
And even after, he's like still putting songs out and stuff. But that one like really flew out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, how long do I give it? Like,
until I get there.
Like, are the stars going to align? Am I going to have that song?
Yeah.
Am I going to meet someone that's going to say, hey, I believe in you, and then it's going to go huge? I'm going to be like Justin Bieber. And I was like thinking about this stuff, and then I was like, man, like I had this big moment where I was like, I feel like I have to realize the reality of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, and for me, I was like, like I've been saying, I didn't feel like I was the natural singer. Like when you meet people like Vince Harder and yourself and like Barry and people where it just flows out, Guy Sebastian, you're like, I felt like I'm not that breed.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the breed of that person that just sings and it just all falls out and perfectly in tune with like all this passion and feeling. I was like, it feels too hard for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I'm really naturally talented at sport and things like that. And I was like, I feel like that's where I am.
Yeah.
But I had that positive environment around singing. But then before that, I was like the sport guy, and that's all I did.
Yeah.
And coming back to that supportive environment, my dad was always supportive of like anything that I did as well.
Yeah.
So he backed the sport. He also backed the singing because he loved music, and I grew up on Bob Marley and all that kind of stuff too. But I was like, how long do I give it?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to also have a living because after the band broke up and I was like just kind of trying to figure out my life and I moved to Auckland, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, how am I going to pay rent and things like that? So I had to get practical as well. And I was like kind of desperate because I was like broke. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do like personal training because that's like what you do if you're into fitness and stuff like that. So then that's where that kind of started. But
yeah,
I don't know. I had to kind of look deep down.
yeah, true, bro.
Because
it's like
yeah.
even for me, bro, like music isn't, I guess, gonna make me a living.
But you never know. The stars could align.
Yeah, the stars could align.
Like,
bro.
that's the thing. Like, that
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's like, but I personally struggle with that of like living with like the hope of luck. Because I feel like it's not solid. Because I'm such a like rigid person.
You need to know.
I'm like, if I do this and this, I want to get this.
Yeah.
But it's so hard with music.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm maybe different in that way of like, I'm happy with what the outcome is because I'm like, I love it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love music and I love the power of music. I love what I do with music. I love giving advice, on music. And I feel like music can help your life. Like, it really can. Like, there's like actual facts. Someone was telling me the other day that 30 minutes of singing, and even in the choir or something, is more beneficial than anything that you can do for your mental health. So it's like, music's got something special about it, bro. And I feel like I'm gifted enough just to like be able to contribute, to music. Yeah. I feel like I'm just a contribution because I'm only here for, you're only on earth for a little bit, bro.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's so small. You're only here for like, a small amount of time. So I just want to be in a position in my life that I'm enjoying the things that I do, regardless of what it is. Maybe I'll become a personal trainer.
Well, you've come to the right guy.
Don't laugh, mate.
So how do you think music has changed your life? Because it's changed my life.
Yeah.
Like, I know specifically where, but how has it changed your life? Like, is there a moment or moments where you're like, if I didn't have music, I didn't know where I'd be, or music got me through this time?
I don't think, maybe not specifically music, probably got me like somewhere or whatever. I feel like because I have faith and I feel like God is something so like tangible in my life and so real to me. And I feel like music's just like what is it called? Like what is it called? Like the extension of what God's doing in my life. Like it's just something that I do, and something that I'm like gifted to do. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not something I identify myself with. But if I was to say like, what did that extension help me with? I feel like so many things, bro. Like so many situations, and so many ways, maybe different parts of my life that I was able to express through music. Like yourself, bro. You're a very emotional writer.
Expression.
Yeah, expression, bro. Because a lot of people can't express themselves, because they don't have any
outlets to do it.
Yeah, outlets, And I feel like music is the biggest outlet of emotion. Because you can just scream your lungs out and, give it everything you have. Yeah, bro. Yeah. And I feel like it's a very spiritual experience for me when I sing. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I felt like it definitely helped me express myself when I lost mum. Because I was young, you don't really know what words to say. You don't really know how to explain how you're feeling.
Yeah.
So I just tried to write a song, right? And then that helped me get through it. Even just trying to write a song that was like super basic. I didn't really know how to write anything. I didn't really know many chords on the guitar. Didn't know that like that was the first time I sung or wrote a song, and I'd never think, oh, I like the guitar or I like this. I just tried it. And it really helped me, express like an outlet. Like I was like, oh, like even though it's still a tough time and you're still dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you've kind of, I don't know, like the 100% of grief that you have to do, like I lost maybe 10%, like from writing that and from singing that out.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first song I ever wrote, right, was for my mother's funeral. So I sang it. It was the first time I sang publicly, and like the first song I ever wrote, and I sang it there because Dad's like, oh, do you want to do the song? I was like, okay. So I did it. And I was like looking back, I was like, that's a strange thing to do because I wasn't like a music kid. I was a sport kid.
Yeah.
But I did it, and it was hard to finish because I was like trying to cry and sing at the same time. And those things don't happen very well at the same time. Like, but yeah, like I felt lighter.
Yeah.
Like it's such an expression. I felt like that's how it's helped me. Like not that I do it a lot now, but at that time I needed to get some weight off because it's hard to deal with it.
Yeah, hard, bro. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know about you, but like that spiritual thing, bro, I feel like it's like connected to something else when I sing. That's what I actually feel like. And I feel like, you can be like real vulnerable with it, and yeah, it's one of the many things you can be very vulnerable and it not judge you, you know what I mean?
Because it just is what it is. It's
is.
not like that's wrong or that's right.
It's just anything goes. No rules.
Yeah, that's the freedom of it.
Yeah. So then when we come back to singing, how we were talking about singing, like techniques and teaching, and if you think that you can get a singer from there to there or whatever, that's literally what I say to my students is there's no rules. It's anything goes. And whatever makes you happy, then we're winning.
Yeah. And that can help give them the confidence to actually start applying what they're learning from you. Yeah.
And just, become more of themselves. I guess that's what I'm trying to do, bro. It's just become more of who I truly am, That's pretty deep. But
what's the most important song that you've written?
That I've written? My last single that I released was Lift Your Head High. And I guess that was a very special song. And again, very spiritual song. And the way that I got to really speak about or sing about my life. Do you know what I mean? I got to like record my family. I just chucked a couple mics in the room and just recorded my family as the choir. And like my mom's in there and my dad's in there, and like my video clip was just my family at my nana's house. And it's very important because that's like very special to me, is like my family, because they're my community and they're my biggest supporters. Like they'll be there at a drop of the hat, bro. So that was probably my most special song to write, because I got to write about my sister and and it's a cool uplifting song. And the chorus is just lift your head high, you'll get the next one.
Like, was that about something that you missed out on, or was it just
I feel like
a melody that came into your head, or some words that lifted you up?
I guess I resonated with it because I feel like in life we always like are gonna lose something, you know what I mean? There's no way. Like, there's no way you go through life and you're winning the whole way. Because if you are, what the heck is the secret?
I want what you have.
But to like be reassured that it will be all right. And I guess that was my own way of saying it, because that's it's a pretty generic thing.
But I feel like that's such an important message, and I think what's happening with people these days. And I guess I'm speaking for the both of us because we've both gone through hard times. Like, obviously, you've had your own experience. I've had my own experience. But I feel like people need to hear that, because I think people are almost afraid to apply themselves these days. Yeah. Like, no one wants to try. I think that cancel culture doesn't help. Like, people on social media saying what they think, and then people are canceling them just because they said their opinion or said their opinion, sorry. And people are like afraid. I think social media also doesn't help in the aspect of like people like looking at all these fake versions of people's lives, like the highlight version, the highlight reel, whenever I just bought this car, I just bought this, here's my hot wife and here's my hot husband, or like, here's my fancy car and this is what I do for work. I earn $1 million a month. And, like you see all this stuff on social media and you're like, man, everyone's doing so well. Why should I even try? Yeah, hard. But I feel like when we were growing up, we didn't have access to see what everyone else was doing. So we just tried stuff and we failed and we got better and we failed and we got better and we failed and we kind of failed to where we are today.
And we're still failing.
That's true. It's true. We're still failing.
That's it, bro.
Like, I feel like, like I've just taken on this place, the Team Rock Ashby headquarters.
Hey, let's go.
Like, I may not have
Click
done
the link
that.
above.
Swipe up to donate. No. But I may have never done that if I looked at other people and saw, oh, look what they have. Like, why should I do it? Like, this guy has a gym with 20 squat racks. Why should I just have this little thing? Yeah. Like, I feel like people are very scared to do what they feel like they need to do or that they want to do.
Yeah. Nah,
it's 100%. Such an important message.
But that goes like hand in hand with like what you were, asking me about, like people who don't sing or like they feel unconfident to sing. If they didn't try, then they would never know. You know what I mean? So they have to go into it. They have to fail. You can't be scared of failure because it's inevitable. It's literally inevitable. There's probably situations where money comes into play where people have money, like you're saying, and all that kind of stuff, or they're born into money and stuff, but they will still lose something. Yeah. Money doesn't mean nothing. Yeah. They're still going to lose something. Or they're going to fail at something eventually or whatever. And I'm not trying to speak that on their lives, but, it's like natural. Because if we never fail, like, we're perfect. Yeah,
and there's no resilience or grit that's developed, I think.
Nah.
Like, I think you can... Like, I think one of the hardest periods of my life was actually when I left Christchurch to go to Auckland.
Wow.
Because, man, it was such a journey. I don't even know if we've talked about it that much.
Yeah, what happened?
Man, so I packed up my Honda Civic, right, that I had, that my dad got me off my brother's, like, ex-girlfriend that cost $500, right? Yeah. Super rusty, super shit. And, like, it had an oil leak and it had no warrant or rego.
Yeah.
So the day before I was going to drive up to Auckland to move, I packed everything in. I went to get the rego, like, on the Friday, because I was going to leave on like the Saturday or maybe the Monday or something like that, a few days later. And I was like, hey, I want a warrant and rego. And they're like, oh, you need this part and that part. We can probably do it in 2 weeks. And I was like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. And they were like, oh, we can't help you. So I just drove with the oil leak, no warrant, no rego, car, like Honda Civic, small hatchback, packed with all my stuff, all my belongings, my guitar, my clothes. And I just left. I stayed up, like I drove all the way up to my nana's house in Blenheim, so 5-hour drive. But every major city or major town, I should say, that I went through, I had to buy a new big thing of oil to put back in because I was just pouring it in. And as I was driving, all the oil was falling out.
Holy crap!
So it was just a big nightmare, man. So like I stayed at my nana's, I drove up to Wellington, put some new oil in, caught the ferry over, and then I drove like 10 hours from from Wellington to Auckland or however long it is. I tried to, I was going to sleep in my car one night and my friend paid for like a hotel for me to stay at. So I stayed there. I was like super thankful for that because I was just going to sleep in my car because I had no money.
Wow.
Like my dad gave me $800 before I left. So that's a little bit of a lie. But when I got to Auckland, I had to pay for the oil leak to get fixed and it cost me $800.
Oh, wow.
So I was like back at square zero. And then I was like, I had to find a job. I had to do this, like, because I didn't know anyone. So I knew, do you remember Omega from Parachute?
Yeah.
So I stayed with him for a while, but I think I stayed a bit too long.
Oh, really?
But I was just like sleeping on a couch, and I was like, to be honest, I was like super upset every night. I was like crying and I was like, man, what am I doing with my life? Like I've just like moved and I've got nothing. I don't like know anyone. Like I knew him. I knew a couple of people in Auckland, but I didn't have like a, that support network.
Wow.
It was crazy, man.
Bro.
Like that's just on the surface. But it was...
Let me tell you what's underneath the sheets, mate.
There's a lot of tears. No. But yeah, that was like such a challenging part. And then like I had to find a place to live. I had to, find a place to work. So I started working at I applied for all these jobs and all this kind of stuff. But I guess I'm saying this because that taught me so much. Like that built resilience like nothing.
Yeah. Bro.
Like I literally had nothing, had a broken car, and I floated somehow.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Because I think that was, because Moorhouse was still going, but we weren't doing a lot of gigs.
Nah.
Like we were gigging every now and then, and we were kind of like, I guess it was like slowing down after we did like we did some stuff in Auckland and like some festivals and stuff, and then there was like time in between.
Yeah.
And then I moved up there, and I was like, man, all this kind of stuff in between. But that, I feel like that resilience came from times like that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I have to make it happen. I feel like potentially if social media was around and I really cared about what other people were doing, and I was like, that's crazy. And I thought about it too much, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I feel like I was so naive or like had so much belief from the supportive environment. Like you guys, the friends, the family, my dad cheering me on. Like, I'll back anything you do. I was like, okay, I can do it. So I did it and I floated. But I feel like it's, coming back to your message of that song, it's so important to just like keep lifting your head up and just trying again.
Yeah. And I was literally just talking to my wife like not too long ago, bro, or maybe even today. And I was just like, man, like as humans, we really need to get to like the end of ourselves to find ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Massively.
Like,
I agree with that. 100%.
Like we have to get right to the end of ourselves until we feel like we're in the pit almost, right? To be able to like really scavenge the things that of who we truly are, and then like boom, apply them. Because if we never get there, you will just continue like on the surface. Do you know
this
what
kind of like
mundane
of just cruise level, like,
and just like do it because it's there, and but not actually know who you are. Because
you're not tested. Like you don't have to prove anything. Not that it's about proving something or like being this and that and achieving this and that, but I just feel like it develops character. Like it gives you like if your back's up against the wall. Man, I remember I was actually telling my wife about this maybe a couple months ago. Man, the accommodation that I got after, so I flattered with these people that I met in Auckland for a while, and then I got my own place that I was renting on my own, and it was like, man, it was like the shape of a pizza slice, like very small. Like you could probably take 5 big steps and then you're at the wall. And it was shaped like a pizza, and it was like shared bathrooms. And it was full of, bro, it was so weird. It was full of a lot of people that I think were like, just, I don't know, been through a lot, let's say.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy was just like watching porn in the like open room, that like the communal room that everyone could be
in
at.
the lounge.
Like I was like literally making my dinner, which was like eggs because they were cheap. I was like, bro, and he's just sitting there watching it. And I was just like, bro, what's going on? I was like, where am I living? And then I'd like try to sleep at night, and I remember like I felt a cockroach like crawling up my leg.
Wow.
And I was like, what am I like?
You were like, protein.
Where is it? I'm starving. It was just crazy, man. Like, and I'm not saying that people have to go through that, and there's probably a better place to stay, but I was just like so desperate, but I look back at those times and I laugh because that like really, once again, developed me, made me like, I found myself, I guess. I had to be resourceful. I was like, and that's when I was like really grinding. Like I felt like it was like super tough. I didn't have many friends in Auckland, and I was like working this job I didn't like. Every other minute that I wasn't doing that, I was trying to like work in some capacity, like when I was still doing music, when I wasn't, I was trying to do other things, study fitness and all this kind of stuff.
You were on the TV show too, eh?
Right. I did the TV thing as well. Like I auditioned for it. I actually flew to Christchurch to audition for it so here's the story. I was still trying to do music at the time. Moorhouse was still together.
Yeah.
Moorhouse was still together. And I was working at a place called Havianas, the Jandals. Yeah, the Jandals. Or in Australia, the thongs.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, and it was such a... I obviously didn't like the job. I'm selling Jandals. What am I doing? But I just did it to get by. Someone that I knew gave me a contact, and I worked for him. And I worked hard and everything, but like... I'd literally sit there on the iPad that was like that you'd take the transactions with. But when people weren't in the store, I was just reading about fitness. I was like reading about intermittent fasting. I was reading about the keto diet. I was like trying to...
I remember those days.
Yeah. I was trying to learn all this stuff because I was interested in fitness. And I got a call, random number. And I was like, should I pick up? I was like, yeah, I'll pick up. So I picked up, and it was like, hey, we're from the 4:30 show. We want to audition you, blah, 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 blah. So I flew down to Christchurch, did the audition, didn't get the main job, but I got the side gig, which was like, oh, if you're in Auckland, you can go do the field work and go to a gig or go to a wrestling thing and just interview people. So I did that. And with that, I did that for a little bit, but that allowed me to leave my Javiana's job.
Wow. Yeah.
And it wasn't a lot of money, man. It was like my rent was like as long as I wasn't going broke, I was happy. So like I left that job so that I could do other things with my time.
Yeah.
And then the TV job was only maybe 1 to 2 jobs per week.
Yeah.
But it was enough because it was more than obviously selling jandals. And maybe it was only like $300 a week or something like that. But I was like, awesome. My rent's only $150. Like I'll have $150 to eat or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was still a super struggle, man. But like I was doing that so that I could do other things. And then I did online personal training course to get qualified, quit the selling jandals, became a personal trainer, and then did the TV stuff on the side. And then I think during that time was when Moorhouse broke up too. Yeah. So it was like, it was
all go for you, eh?
Well, it was just a confusing time. I was like, I finally decided, okay, like I really gave this Moorhouse thing a shot, music, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go for fitness and just like really apply and do the TV stuff. And I tried to do modeling and stuff as well. But a lot of times I got told, you're not tall enough or you're too, because I was into the gym too much. I was like, oh, you're too muscular, because they wanted like a tall, slender dude. And I was like, well, that's not me. Like, so I didn't get much work there too. So yeah, it's just, that's why I really fell into personal training, because that became my bread and butter. And I felt like I was actually quite good at it. Yeah. So then, like I felt like this is what Guy Sebastian must feel like when he's singing. Yeah, right. Like, I felt like I was in my arena, that I was like, this feels natural. Yeah. And there's a few things I needed to get better at, which is like, dealing with people and trying to run a business and doing all that stuff that I learned along the way. But I finally felt like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Where with singing, it was always place. Like, oh, it didn't feel like it clicked. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, bro. What a crazy time for you.
It was crazy, man. A lot of tears.
Oh, a lot of tears.
Yeah, it was crazy. Oh, and do you remember Julie Butler?
Come on.
Do you remember when we did X Factor? And she gave us those clothes.
Julie.
Yes, the British girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
Lady.
The British
woman.
Lady. Yeah, and her husband, I think his name was like Selwyn or something. And then they had a daughter that lived. Yeah. Like I remember, I think I visited them, or I stayed there or something like that for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, because I had nowhere to stay and stuff. Like, I think I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I got nowhere to stay. And he picked me up after work one day, I remember, and I stayed there for a little bit. Wow. Yeah.
That's incredible. What good people. They were actually solid people, man. Bro.
They were so good.
Yeah.
Like, they were so nice. Like, obviously, we wore their clothes and stuff, but like, I felt like they didn't really get anything out of that.
I know. I felt kind of bad.
Yeah.
But like, I
got like 4 boxes of clothes and then we wore it, but it's like, did they get more work from it? I don't know.
Yeah. Should have. Lovely jubbly, that's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man. That's crazy. Yeah, bro. So, oh well, this sounds like you've cracked it. You've cracked the code, bro.
But all to say, like that, I feel like that made me who I am. Like whatever that is. That whole, what did you say? Letting go of yourself to find yourself or something.
Yeah, like you really have to get to the end of yourself to find yourself. Eh?
I felt like I was there for a while.
Yeah. But you just have to. Like, there's no way you can't. And it looks different to everyone. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily look like driving up to Auckland in a Honda Civic with the oil leak. Or it doesn't look like me coming back to Christchurch and getting $1,000 car and then breaking down every 5 seconds.
Mate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a time in your life, and I'm not saying that I've found exactly who I am, because I feel like there's more to discover.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the goalposts keep moving.
Yeah, it just keeps moving, and once you get to it and it moves again, then be encouraged that you're heading in the right direction, and it's good. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a space of my life where I'm like, I'm so capable of doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can do anything that I want.
Yeah.
Like I feel positive about that, and that fact that I could go study, I could play more sport, and whether that amounts to playing for the All Blacks or whatever, or even if that's the dream, I still could just go do that because I feel confident in myself, and I feel like I've really gone through, not the hard stuff, but I've dove deep into myself to find that confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always talk about this actually with my wife as well, and even my mates. Like, I feel like that time, because some people ask me how I sound like that like person on Instagram that goes, everyone's been asking me this and blah blah, but no one's been asking. Like, everyone's asking about my skin routine, so here it is.
Who asked?
Who? No one's following you. But I mean, like I've been asked because I'm very sure of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm set on where I'm going. And people ask kind of like, where does that come from? But it like comes from the time, like you've said you've been through whenever you've had to go through, and now you're kind of like you said you'll try anything. Like that time of when I was at church, like between like at Majestic, like 14 years old to maybe 19, 20, whenever it was. Yeah. I spent so much time asking, trying to figure out what I was doing. And I feel like that really fast tracked me in terms of what I wanted to do. Yeah. Because there's people now, and like even it still changes, but a lot of people in the adult world don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Like they're just cruising. But I felt like and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was always very intentional and wanted to know where I wanted to be. But I spent like those years of like 14 to 20 going like, what am I doing? What are my talents? What do I like want to achieve? And what do I, asking all these questions that don't even have answers. But I thought about it long enough to feel like, I think it's this. Yeah. I think it's this. I think it's this. And then like pursuing them and seeing what happens. Yeah. Yeah. Like you have to think about it. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of adults, like, because going to church isn't the most common thing for people. Yeah, right. And thinking about these deep things that you think about, that I've thought about. Yeah. It's kind of like where you find the answers. In the like, this sounds really like deep too, but like in the stillness of like when it's quiet or when there's just music playing and you're just thinking about your life and thinking about what you want to do or your friends and your family or and the person you want to be and stuff like that. Like I've thought about that for so long. Like just with like beautiful pads in the background, like, and you're thinking, or like crying and going, yeah. But like thinking about that stuff really helps you figure stuff out. And like we're so distracted these days with phones and with this and that.
We're so impressionable too, eh?
Like we don't get to that deep state of, this is who I am or what I want to be or what I want to embody. Hard.
Oh, bro. I don't think this is not to be discouraging, but I don't feel like we'll ever know exactly, that thing. We just have to love what we're doing, eh? And be happy with it. Like, I bet you're happy now, bro. Like, you're here at your headquarters and you've got a baby, you've got a wife, and I guess the main thing is that you're happy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, you could be working at $1 million job or whatever and still not be enjoying what you're doing, and you're probably here, like, just loving it. Yeah. And just loving, like, training your people and seeing the progress and all that kind of thing. So that's probably, like, my thing in life, bro, is like, as long as I'm happy, I don't care what I'm earning, what I'm, where I'm at, where I'm living. I'm like, as long as I'm happy, that should be enough.
So actually, I've been thinking about this, and I actually wrote a quote about it maybe a couple months ago, but it's a pretty deep question. But like, what do you think happiness is? What do you think being happy is? Like, how would you define it? Because a lot of people will say, just be happy. But like, what does that mean? Because my happiness will be different to yours.
Yeah, 100%.
But like for you, what would you define it as? And then I'll give you mine.
I don't know. I feel like happiness for me is like when you have that energy, that extra energy, and you're just like, I could be here forever. You know what I mean? That's probably like the true happiness. Or maybe happiness is that it makes you so happy that it's like emotional. Like it makes you want to cry. You're like, I'm just so like grateful. Do you know what I mean? For things. But are you asking like what exactly makes me happy? Yeah, or like what is the feeling?
Like how would you describe it? Because you're saying like becoming like doing something and it makes you emotional and stuff. But like, how would you define like if you're happy in your life? Because like, we're not going to cry our entire life. Like, like what is that? Because you said like as long as you're happy. Yeah. So like, what does that mean? I know this sounds pretty deep and like woo woo, but like.
I can't explain it.
It's hard. It's a hard question.
Yeah, that is a hard question.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's moments, bro. Like, I can't put it down to like you know, because I don't feel like everyone's going to be happy all the time, right? Or I don't know about you.
Yeah. But like, it depends how you define it once again, because like maybe
Yeah.
that's included in the path of happiness.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe the struggle makes you happy.
Yeah.
And then
right.
getting there also makes you happy.
Yeah.
So it's still hard, but like that's part of the happiness.
Yeah. Right.
You know? Because like I was thinking, because everyone's like, you know, like being happy is important and like, oh, that's the goal of life. But I was like, I don't think so, because I feel like when I chill and I'm like, happy, sometimes I feel this deep feeling behind that's like unhappy because
Yeah.
I'm like stopped.
Yeah.
So like for me, I like I think the quote, oh man, let me try and find it. It was something, wait, I want to get it. I think it's in here. Quotes. Yeah, here it is. So I was like, I would rather be fulfilled,
Yeah.
because I feel like that combines happiness with motion, like fulfillment, because I feel like my brain, maybe not everyone, but I feel like a lot of humans are drawn to like making progress. And if you're not making progress, it's almost like you feel empty. And I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm kind of speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Because I like to be like moving forward. I feel like if I'm stale,
Mm.
the whole if you're not going forward, you're going backwards thing. And this might be my own thing I need to deal with, because like, man, just be content and be happy. I'm like, yeah, cool, but that's not how I work.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to chase fulfillment as opposed to happiness, because I feel like happiness is stationary, but maybe this is just how I define it. And I want to chase fulfillment. So like the quote I said is like, fulfillment is happiness in motion. So I want to be fulfilled, because I feel like if you live happy, it's different to someone who lives fulfilled.
Right.
I feel like if someone lives fulfilled, it's like they move with purpose.
Yeah. Right.
And if you're happy, nothing against it, but it's kind of like happiness isn't that you see that person moving with purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. Like, it sounds really deep and like really like,
Nah, but then
you
very
just like
simple at the same
you've been
time.
on drugs sitting in your room thinking about it too much. But yeah, that's what I feel like I want to pursue fulfillment, because I feel like that I kind of need purpose as a human being. Because if I don't, I'm just like, oh, I'm a happy, chilled guy. Nothing wrong with being chilled. I probably shouldn't have even put that in the sentence. But like, I feel like if I feel like I'm happy, I feel like I'm not doing something.
Right.
I feel like I have this responsibility I almost put upon myself. I've had that for ages.
Yeah.
It could have been from like when mum passed away, I felt like I have to do her proud, or like do my family proud and be like, Ashby, you know, like put the name on the map type of thing and make a difference. I've always kind of had that.
True, bro. Yeah, I guess maybe I don't have the same. Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying like that's my thoughts. That's what I've been.
It's very different, I guess. And it's like, it's good. I feel like, but I guess that makes you happy.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Like that's my version of happiness.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
my happiness is fulfillment.
It is fulfillment, yeah.
And like, because there's people that are just happy, like my dad, happiest man I've ever met. You know, just doing whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm putting words in his mouth now, but I don't think he would want to live as the whole fulfilled thing, like move with purpose type of thing. I feel like that's not really what he wants. He's just happy. And that's been awesome to see for me, because I'm like, he doesn't care, you know, once again, how much he's making and, oh, you're wearing this, I'm wearing that. He's like, as long as I'm like seeing my kids and I'm happy at work, you know, got mates, blah, 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 you know, like that's happy. So growing up seeing that, I was like, that's what happiness is.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And even for like, that's a really good example, your old man.
Yeah.
Like, he is a happy man.
So happy.
And same as like my parents, bro. Like, their happiness, you know, could be just me coming around to see them on a Thursday. You know what I mean? It just lights the whole world up. Like, man, I just want to be like that. I just want to be happy with, you know, and grateful. Like, I guess that's the whole thing. It's just grateful for where I am now and where I will be in the future. And being, you know, grateful. Maybe grateful is the word that I'm, you know, thing. Because when I'm grateful, I'm like happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I feel like when I'm being ungrateful, when I'm like, oh, I could have been da-da-da and I could have da-da-da. Or being, you know, always saying would have, oh, should have, would have, could have. Then I'm not happy. And I'm not content.
Yeah.
And I'm not fulfilled, because I'm like putting myself in like situations that were never gonna exist.
Yeah.
You know what I
Or
mean?
your target's like in the wrong place. Like you're focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So I just want to be able to reflect that happiness, like you're saying, like your old man just being happy.
Yeah.
You know, working wherever, go and hang out with his mates, and
Yeah.
you know, and not having to be like, oh, I have to pursue this career.
Yeah.
You know, because what better does that make you, you know, of a human being that you're pursuing something?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's tricky once again because I spend a lot of time on social media. I come from this perspective of like, I feel like no one really celebrates that because it's not cool to post. Like, oh, you're hanging out with your parents. That's not like, but what car are you driving? Yeah. Like, how did you get there? I feel like people are more concerned about that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that, and because screen time is going up, everyone's concerned about what people are thinking. It's like, well, now everyone's perspective is slowly getting skewed. It's like a very slow thing, but now I see it in like, especially younger dudes like in the gym that I see a lot. Like some of them come up and ask me for advice and stuff like that. But like I can tell they're just different to how we were growing up. Like I feel like they don't talk to as much people face to face. Like they're walking back from school on their phones as opposed to looking up and talking to their mates, or like they're walking with their mates, but they all got headphones in. Yeah. And I'm like, this is so different. Yeah. And then obviously they're consuming something. And I feel like the content is slowly skewing towards what do you have? What are you wearing? Who are you? You know, what do you stand for? All these types of things, as opposed to like, are you fulfilled? Are you happy? And like, look, I wasn't thinking about that when I was 12 or 14 either. But like, I feel like slowly it's skewing. Like as they get older, their ladder's going to be up against the wrong wall. Yeah. As opposed to being like, okay, I've got this father that like just wants to be happy and has friends and family. You know, like your parents, you're seeing them on a Thursday and they feel awesome. Like that's amazing. And I'm starting to appreciate that now, especially like having, because I was very like focused. Like, you know, like I was just like, didn't want to hang out with people. I saw that as like wasting
you didn't want to hang out with me.
No, I didn't.
And I still don't. Get off.
Get off. I haven't been recording. But like, I was so obsessed with like, I have to be this person or go somewhere. So I was like, I saw seeing people. And it's stupid because it's like, oh, this isn't going to benefit me. I'm going to go do something else. So it's like I had massive problems like during that time because but I just felt so desperate that I had to like make something of myself or be this person. Yeah. Because I felt like, times against the, like, oh man, it's like, we're already 18 and like the whole music industry, everyone's so young and making it. And then like we were in a boy band and then One Direction come out there like all 2 years, younger than us or whatever. And I was like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do that. And I was like just obsessing over things. Yeah. I could have just like benefited way more of just like hanging out. Yeah. And just being present as opposed to being like making this and making that.
Yeah, that's true, bro. And like even like simple things like going to play volley with my dad on a Saturday night, like it's like, man, this makes him really happy and like actually makes me really happy. And then I could be like flying to Australia and then sitting in a mean hotel having the meanest food and not even be happy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, man, what a waste of my time coming all the way. My happiness is back home. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we go so far around the circle. We could travel halfway around the world and just know that our happiness is like just like literally was always in front of us. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's so funny. Like we're built like that. Yeah. We're always like searching for more and more and more. And then the actual thing that is like right in front of your face is the thing that's like the truest and most loving. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy, bro. Like,
man, there's this quote. Oh, my phone's over there. Wow. Oh, there's this. I don't even want to say it now because I'll butcher it. Actually, I'll just paraphrase it. So there's.
You better get it right, man.
Yeah, I hope I get it right. So there's a story of this guy, and he's like, actually, I don't want to start it because I'm going to butcher it. I'll just stop there.
That's amazing, bro. Just put it in post.
No. Put it in post-production. I'll read it later and then I'll copy-paste it in and just be like...
Just mime it now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say the main thing, right? So he says to the guy, so there's this fisherman. Yeah. And he's like this businessman. He goes to the fisherman, why don't you... Who's just like goes out, fishes with people, comes back and he's like, well, why don't you buy some more boats? Because then you could... have more people and expand your business, make more money, blah, blah. And he goes, okay. And then, if I do that, I have more money. And then he goes, yeah. And then like when you have more boats, then you could maybe open up different, have different docks.
Yeah.
And then you could have more docks and more boats and keep expanding the business. He goes, okay, cool. And then what? And he goes, well, then, maybe you could, have your own fishing rods or whatever and keep making more money and expanding, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, okay. And then he goes, and then what? And he goes, well, and then you could sell it and have a lot of money. And he goes, okay, awesome. And then what? And he goes, and then you could, get a little boat and go out fishing every day.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's what I'm doing already.
Already.
So it's like, it's kind of like that thing, like he already has it.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you could have all these things and make all this money and have this big company and expand and stuff just to sell it and do what he's already doing.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, it's kind of like, well, why don't I just do that every day now?
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Yeah.
And I guess that goes back to like what we were saying before, even with our like, our your clients and then my students. It's like there's already part of them that is happy is in there somewhere. It's just like about
trying to encourage people to bring it out,
or identifying it and being like, that's actually a really beautiful part of you, and that's something that you could focus on. You know what I mean?
And what we do, like me personal training, you vocal coaching, and doing what you do can help them realize that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going in there with like a thing. Okay, they want to get better at singing. You have to do that first. But what comes with that is like everything else.
Right. It's like life changing. And I know that for myself because it changes me to know these people that are like, changing. Yeah, bro.
I got 3 questions to wrap up.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Because this is the Better with Brock podcast, right? It's all about becoming better.
Yeah.
I didn't want to narrow it down to fitness because sometimes I have other interests, like becoming better in different ways. So, but I have 3 questions. What is one quote that has helped you become better, or one that you think back to where you're like, okay, it lifts you up, it makes your day better, it pumps you up, it does whatever it does?
Yeah. I have 2.
Awesome.
2, if you don't mind me. So I was at church on Sunday, and because I'm a follower of Jesus, and I guess just to go into that a little bit, it's because I feel like reading the Word of God and the Bible, it like explains so many things in like life. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like Jesus was like the perfect example of how we should live our lives because he was selfless. He was loving, his unconditional love. Like he was ready to put himself, on the line for us. And the preacher was basically saying, he's like, everyone always talks about what would Jesus do? That quote's like, I don't know.
WWJD.
Yeah, that's it, bro. And then, but then he's like, why don't you like look at it and be like, what did Jesus do? Do you know what I mean? Instead of being like, what would he have done if he was here? Da, da, da. It's like, he's already done it. You know what I mean? And for me, like, that's like a beautiful thing to reflect upon. Because I feel like it gives me a clear example of actually something that's already like, it's almost like do this and this and that. You know what I mean? It's already there. Instead of being like, why? Like, what would? Like, because we can get into so many different scenarios in our head. Do you know what I mean? And like Jesus is like an example for me personally. And I'm like, man, those things are very amazing things that he has done. And like a pretty clear road to it. You know what I mean?
Like the answer's already there.
Yeah, the answer's or the plan's already there. Do you know what I mean? He's given you the 8-week Jesus plan.
You just got to subscribe to it.
Yeah. And it's going to cost.
A lot.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the quotes that he was saying. He's like, don't wonder what Jesus would do, but just actually read and see what Jesus did do. So that's one of them, yeah. And then another one is a whakatauki from back home.
Oh, yeah.
Because Brock's actually a Kiwi.
Kia ora koutou tamariki mā.
It's not better. It's not better with Brock Ashby.
Ko Brock tuku ingoa. Ko freedom tuku papa.
Yeah, that's it. The whakatauki says, ka hore te kumara e kōrero mo tōna ake reka. And basically it says the kumara does not speak of its own sweetness.
I love that.
And that, I guess, for me, it's like, man, you don't need to boast. You don't need to boast about your stuff. You should know. You know what I mean? You should know you're a kumara. That's it. I love that quote, bro. That's
awesome.
Whakatoki, yeah. What is that? A proverb?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah.
So I read I have a quote that's similar to that. So I pretty much, from the days in the church where I was praying every day and stuff like that, I have like a gratitude list that I read every morning.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have quotes at the back of it, but a lot of them are proverbs, like scriptures.
Wow.
And there's one along the same lines as that. Let another praise you and not your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's it, bro.
But like yours sounds better because I like the artistic way of expressing it. But yeah. And often when someone says a lot, like, say if someone's like, man, trust me. It's like the more someone says something, the more question marks it has behind it. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm a really good guy. I'm a really good, like if you're on a date, you're a chick or you're a guy, whatever. And you're like, trust me, I'm a good guy. Like if they're saying that a lot, it's like, why are you saying that a lot though?
Yeah. Like I'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let your words or let your fruits speak of like who you are or what you've done. Or
100%, bro. And you'll know by the fruits on the tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're like, trust me, it's like, yeah.
You've been covering up those fruits with some paint.
The fruits are not right.
That you are definitely not a kumara.
Second question, a book that you feel has helped you or helped make you better.
I feel like, the Bible. Just a lot of cool perspectives, bro. If you can put it like just without the spiritual, I feel like a lot of cool things, like you're saying, like at the back of your things, like scriptures and on your gratitude list, because there's a lot of good stuff in there, bro?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's
like the book of Proverbs is my favorite. Other stories and stuff like that, there's such meaning behind it. There's such application even in today's world.
Oh, 100%.
It's not like a prehistoric book where it's like, oh, that was just for that time. Some specific things where it's like, okay, yeah, we don't, live in stables or anything like that. Like obviously that's, not the reality for most people. But like, there's so much like relevant things.
Yeah, relevance, bro. And even in the what do you call it? Purakos, like the stories. What do you call them, bro? Stories in the Bible, they're called
parables.
Parables. Even in the parables, bro. Like there's so much gold in there, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like regardless of your belief system, you can learn something from that.
Oh, 100%.
Like I read so many scriptures in the morning because it's like, wow. Like my favorite is Proverbs 10:4. I've probably said this almost on every podcast, but it's and this is probably to do with like my work ethic and the stuff that I was going through at the time. But lazy hands make for poverty, and diligent hands bring wealth. And it's not about being rich. I always say that it's not about I'm gonna be wealthy because I'm working a lot and I have diligent hands. It's about being diligent in the things that you want to become wealthy. Yeah. So if you want to have more friends, you need to spend time with your friends or spend time trying to make relationships.
Yeah, preach
like so that was like, and obviously there was one point of me where it's like, okay, I need to work hard to actually make a living. Cause like I was saying, there was times where I was living with cockroaches in my bed and I was like,
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I was like, surely it can be better than this. So like I would say things like that to help me. Okay, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands like to keep working, keep being diligent. Yeah. And that kind of helped get me out of that rut. But there's other things too. Like there's a lot of people that don't want to talk to girls or talk to guys anymore because they're scared of what they think, or they just want to do online dating. But it's like, if you're diligent with that, you can have wealth in that area if you want to find a partner. Yeah. You just 100%. Need to do the work. It can apply to anything.
Oh, bro, totally. That's so good. Proverbs,
Yeah. That was I used to read that all the time. Yeah. Last question is one thing that you do every day to help you become better. This is the final question, then we'll wrap it up.
One thing that I do to make myself better. I ask myself, why am I doing whatever I'm doing?
So how does that make you better?
Because it refines me. And I guess I ask God to refine me too. You know what I mean? Like, why am I, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're not questioning it and being like, then you're just there. And it's just like
doing
happening.
whatever.
Yeah, it's just happening. And I guess that makes me better because it makes me, what's the word? It makes me know myself more, bro, probably. It's just like, I learn so much more about myself because I'm like, if I'm doing something really cool, say like a big project, I'm like, why am I actually doing that? Like, what is the thing?
The outcome?
Yeah, what's the outcome and what, it could be, you're going to earn this amount of money or you're going to get this amount of contacts, but then it's like, okay, where am I going? And does that align with that thing? Or does the thing do my extensions or the things I do line up to who I am? And I ask why to the extensions. Do you know what I mean? Because some of the things don't actually need to be there. Like some of it doesn't actually. As cool as maybe it feels, some of it's not even relevant to who I am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's so important. I think it makes you, to come back to what you were saying earlier, more intentional.
Yeah, bro.
Because then you're like, you can do things as opposed to saying yes to everything and being like a kite in the wind. That's just going like, wee.
Yeah.
You want to do this? Yep. Okay. Yep. And you're just this like random thing. Then you're like, no, Marley does this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this. And does that help me get there? Okay. So like, even if it is for money, that money can help you do whatever you need to do. So maybe it's a time in your life where you need to, or you want to have that money to do the thing, or maybe you want to do it because you want to meet new people. Okay, cool. Marley wants more friends or wants to meet this person because of that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to do that. But if it's like, I'm just doing it because of this and like I have to, not see my wife for X amount of days and be away from work from this. And then you're like, oh, okay, no, Marley doesn't have to do that.
Yeah. And it's like, like what you're saying, bro, it's always questioning those things because there could be the thing that you align with that's going to help that thing, you know what I mean? But knowing that this is what I want to get out of that and not getting caught up in all the other, you know what I mean? Because this one thing could have so many other things attached to it. Yeah. But you have to like look through it and be like, why am I doing it? And then just go for that. Yeah. That thing, like real shoot it sharp. Yeah. And I'm not saying I know exactly how to do that just yet. Yeah. But I think that's where I'm going towards. Is like, man, I want to be intentional with what I'm doing and like why I'm doing it. This is what I talk to my wife about a lot. It's just like why are we doing things? Like why do we do this and why do we do that? Why are we doing this work? Yeah, it's all questionable. Yeah, but I feel like to be able to do that, you also have to have a bit of a North Star that's guiding you, like an ultimate goal, and that can be whatever you want to achieve. But like once you know whatever that is, and that might be, say, for someone being happy, or maybe for someone being a millionaire, you know, like it can be whatever it is. But like as long as you know what that is, you can have that intention of saying, why am I doing this? And often it's like to get to wherever that last thing is, and maybe it's happiness and you're already there. Yeah. Or maybe it's million and you're at 100K and you need this to get to there. But like if you have a North Star, I feel like it's easier to answer those whys. Yeah. But if you have no purpose of what you're doing for what reason, you can just say yes to everything. Because there's nothing that says, like if you say, well, why shouldn't I do this? You're like, well, I don't know, because I'm just doing anything. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. And right. I think that's what helps me have like that whole fulfillment thing. It's like, that's why I like having goals out in front of me, because then I know where I'm at with things, because I get opportunities too, or maybe I create opportunities, but it has to be in line with like that final thing that I'm like not that it ends, it's not final, then I achieve it and yeah, cool, I'm done. It's like it keeps moving. Alignment, eh? Yeah, but it has to be in alignment with what you want to do. Yeah, bro. That's cool. But yeah, shit, I don't know half the time what I'm doing. Me too. But it's a journey. But I think that's the beauty of it. You figure it out along the way. There's this aspect of, okay, we know what we want, but we also don't know what we don't know. But as long as we keep applying ourselves, we'll figure out. And you learn. And learn along the way. Yeah, and you practice. It's the beauty of it. Yeah, bro. Sure. So where should people go if they want to check you out? Your music or, your business? You can go to mellowstudios.chc on Instagram. I'm on Spotify. And I'm on Instagram under Marley Sola Music.
Mm.
So yeah, just chuck us a follow, and if you wanna, yeah,
Easy. All right, man. We'll wrap it there.
chapeau.
Cheers, man.